And that's our intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SABR podcast. This is a special episode. Woot woot.
Oh,
Yeah, woot woot, indeed. We've got the whole team here because we've had some difficulty with talking to normal people. So we thought we'd talk to ourselves.
You're a professor, Uteska, who would like to appear on the podcast.
Please reach
contact
out.
us.
saber.podcast.outreach@gmail.com. Hit us up. No, but all things said, there's been some fun research news and kind of the headlines coming out of UTISCA, UT Health Science Center. So we figured we'd just kind of give you an idea of what's going on over here in the research scene while we're waiting for new interviews. So, woohoo! All right.
So, everyone is bringing a different study to the table today, and we're all just kind of reacting to the news, the research news from UTESCA. I found an article, I think this was from April, an article about a study saying that too much sleep can hurt cognitive performance, especially for those with depression, which is really great news for people like me who for the past 2 weeks have been getting 5 hours of sleep. It actually says that too little sleep is also bad, but the focus is that.
You would go with the headline. We don't have to acknowledge that part.
It's part of it, but the headline is too much sleep can hurt cognitive performance.
Mhm.
How much is too much sleep, you ask? It's defined as over 9 hours based on this systematic review. So
it's a long time.
That is a long
What was 9
time.
hours?
It would be hard to accomplish.
In the day?
you would think, but I've done it.
I've done it, but I feel like it's...
And apparently it's aged me cognitively 6.5 years.
Wow.
I'm skipping ahead.
6.5
Whoa,
years?
every time?
I don't think it's every time.
Okay, I was like, wait.
Like from sleeping too much, like regularly? It's
This
6.5
was the
years?
average amount of quote unquote cognitive impairment found in the individuals from the study that were in the cohort of sleeping, 9+ hours. So I do wonder how we got to 6.5 years, but that means that I am well into my 30s.
Does that mean you have to
Wow.
sleep 9.5 hours every day, though?
It didn't really specify that. I think that a lot of it's self-reported because they're taking from an existing study from Massachusetts, the Framingham study. So they're taking self-reported data and other data from that cohort to kind of come up with this correlation.
Mhm.
So there's not even a causation factor. It's like, is it poor cognition and so you have to sleep more to make up for it, or is it you sleep so much that your brain don't work? Not quite clear, but the correlation is there. They also, as you can tell from the title, are kind of linking it to this idea of depression and depression-related sleep disorder, but also depression-related cognitive impairment.
Right.
Because those have shown evidence of going together. So that's why they were interested in looking at these different groups, those that don't have any depressive symptoms and don't use antidepressants, those who use antidepressants and then don't have current depressive symptoms, no antidepressants, and then antidepressants with depressive symptoms, and the relationship between sleep and cognition in those groups.
Covered all their bases.
Yes.
So all of those groups were included to some extent.
Or that's how they separated out the
So
people.
How many people in total were in the actual study? What were we looking at?
With our N.
Remember them
N equals what?
all on the top of my head. Over 28,000 people though.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a lot
wow.
of people.
That's good data.
Oh, that is.
Does
And
that
I'm
mean
cutting
we're
that
gonna
out
get-
because that's not.
Oh,
Sorry. Over 1,800. Over 1,800 people in the Framingham study.
That is still
That's a good chunk.
That's
a good chunk.
And the goal too of the thing was that a lot of the sleeping long cognitive correlation studies were focused on older populations, and they were like, well, how does this translate to the adult lifespan over the course of people's lives? So ages range from 27 to 85 years old.
Oh, wow.
Which is also great news for this room, because that means that only I can sleep too much to be too young. And everyone else is safe.
For now. Let's get those naps in while we can.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Does that mean instead of
with smoking, we have pack years. Are we gonna have like sleep years?
Oh,
That's where
I
we're headed.
fear my deficit would be alarming to most.
You have
I don't know. I have negative sleep
sleep
years. Yeah.
I see.
Now the question is, will that
average,
age my brain down?
Ooh.
Will it get younger the less I
Yeah.
sleep?
That sounds like big caffeine propaganda.
Yeah, probably. What can I say? I'm in their pockets. Or they're in mine? How does that work?
I think you're in.
You're in the pocket.
You're in
You're
there.
in each other's
I'm in
pockets.
theirs.
In
We're
each
in
other's.
each other's
You're in each
pockets.
other's pockets.
Oh, that's lovely.
You have caffeine in your pocket.
What a lovely picture.
I wish I
Probably
did.
literally, actually.
Yeah. No, those little like pouches. You seen those? You put on your. It's like a dip pouch, but
Like
it's
a
caffeine.
caffeine's in.
Yeah, caffeine's in. Yeah, those are a thing. Anyways,
So there's
cool study. What's
good
what
and bad
else?
takeaways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The group that found the most or the largest correlation, the most statistically significant correlation between the long sleep and the cognitive impairment were those who had depressive symptoms and then were sleeping really long and weren't on antidepressants. But they found that there wasn't the same statistical significance for those who were on antidepressants and were no longer experiencing depressive symptoms. So, what a great,
So figure out where you lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one of these many groups you
Yeah.
belong to?
We belong to.
And maybe antidepressants are a thing that people should try if they feel that
Maybe.
they
Yeah.
and their doctors believe that they need them.
Yeah.
For chance.
I feel like that's,
Try.
I feel like that's.
How did they
Yeah.
How did they determine like cognitive impairment, quote unquote, like the years?
They had, because this data was taken from an existing study, there were different cognitive tests done that tested things like global cognition, memory, visual spatial skills, and executive function. And if you dig into the study, which we'll have links to the study in the description, the ones that we talked about today, you can see that the different 4 groups actually performed differently on different tests.
Mm-hmm.
So the type of cognition that was impaired is different for different groups. But
Wow.
anyway, you should wake up when your alarm goes off. That's basically the summary.
Basically the moral,
Easier said than
the
done.
takeaway, the conclusion.
A recommendation for how many hours we should be sleeping from this article?
I think it's 7 to 8. Is they use the standard
Standard.
Get your 8 hours of sleep.
which is more than 5, which I did admit to having done for
That's
the
true.
past couple weeks.
That's
I'm
okay. That's okay.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it happens, We all have an off week with sleep.
Okay, so I have something that I think is pretty fun. So this is an article that was published in the Journal of Alzheimer's and Dementia. It's called The Nun Study, Insights from 30 Years of Aging and Dementia Research. So this study is now part of the Glenn Biggs Institute for Alzheimer's and Neurodegenerative Diseases, which is based right here at UTESCA. So the study looked at a group of 678 nuns from the School Sisters of Notre Dame over the past 30 years, and they're looking at signs and patterns for aging and dementia. So what's cool about this study in particular is that nuns...
That it's nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
A
cool.
lot of them too.
Yeah, nuns inherently have a really homogenous lifestyle that you can't get in other groups. So
That's a good
the
point.
School Sisters of Notre Dame have many schools across the country, but even with that, the nuns had pretty standardized access to healthcare, nutrition, activity, education levels. So this is a very homogenous group with a very similar lifestyle that you're able to track pretty closely. So when the study began, 1991, they ranged in age from 75 to 102. So yeah.
Wow.
So a lot, 102 old nuns.
Old nun.
And so all of these, yeah.
Wait, so they were 75 in the 90s when the study started.
Yeah.
How long did the study go on for?
Today there are no nuns from the original study.
None nuns.
Well, that would make
None
sense.
So it would be
nuns.
at minimum in their
Yeah.
late 90s.
Yeah, 102
I believe,
Yeah.
I don't have it in
That would
front
be
of me right now,
impressive.
but I believe they said that all of them were born before 1917.
Wow.
The study. Yeah, and as part of the study, they all the nuns also agreed to have their brains donated to the study, so that we've
That's
analyzed
cool.
their brains as well. So they basically took these nuns and every year-ish, they did a neurological assessment on them. This was like word list learning, verbal fluency, naming tests, visual spatial ability tests. The study is like super huge. This article was more about synthesizing a bunch of information from a bunch of smaller studies, but we'll go into like the more interesting things that the study found. One of the things they noticed early on, which is great news for all of us, is that there is a link between education and the risk of cognitive impairment later in life.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, wait,
Like
but like speak on that.
Yeah,
Which direction?
Yeah.
So the nuns I've learned are actually a very educated group because 85% of the participants had at least a bachelor's.
Oh wow.
And
Nice.
those individuals showed less of a decline between the first two tests than those without a bachelor's. So they showed less cognitive decline it was about a year and a half between each test.
Okay.
And in the same vein, the sisters who had only a grade school education were seen to have increased odds of developing dementia over the course of the study.
Hmm.
So, it's just one study, but it seems like being educated and having education, especially early in life, can have some kind of protective impact on your cognition over time.
Doesn't feel
Wild.
it.
Yeah, it feels like it's getting worse actually the more I study.
Yeah.
You're just losing knowledge.
Is it another U-shaped curve like the sleep where it's like
There's like an
You go
optimal-
too
like
far.
a too much education you can
Yeah, you
this
mean med
kind
school?
of-
You mean med
Yeah.
school?
Yeah.
Beyond
Doctoral
like our
degrees.
MD, PhD brethren.
Yeah, I'm
It's
mostly
different.
worried about the MD PhD
Honestly,
crowd.
Yeah,
in a lot
they're
of
doing a
ways.
lot. They're doing a lot.
At some
Heavy
point, the brain
lifting.
cells must just like need a vacation.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so on beyond that, one of the other things they looked at was APOE allele status. So that is the gene that has the instructions for the protein apolipoprotein E, which is like our biggest Alzheimer's gene that we know of. So the specific version of the allele APOE4 is the strongest risk factor for developing dementia or Alzheimer's. And in this study, they found that the presence of the allele had, I'll quote it here, significantly related to both the presence of dementia on first assessment and the risk of developing dementia over the course of the study period.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty strongly correlated between that gene and development of dementia, which is what other research has also shown. And of course, they also were able to kind of figure out that the converse is true. So not having that allele also was associated with intact cognition over time. So another point towards the importance of the APOE gene in Alzheimer's disease development.
But I don't have to be a nun to not have the gene.
Right.
No,
Right.
yeah.
That part.
It's not
Do you have a
exclusive
genetic
among
predisposition to
nuns.
becoming a nun?
That's the study out.
That's what I
That would be
wanted
like
to
if
do.
you have Catholic heritage, I suppose. There's like
Oh,
technically,
I guess there would
if
have
you
to
really
be.
wanted to push it.
Increased chances.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last thing, as I mentioned earlier, part of the prerequisite for the study was that they were donating their brains after they passed. And I think it was like 95% of them did end up donating their
Wow.
brains. So that's a lot. It was over 600 different autopsies that were performed. Most of them at the time, most of the post-mortem pathology was looking at pathologies related to Alzheimer's disease. Specifically, they looked at like senile plaques and neurofibrillary tangles,
Amazing.
NFTs, SPs and NFTs.
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 Wow.
I know. They're both pretty like well-studied neuropathological markers for Alzheimer's now, but of course the study began in the 90s, so we didn't know as much then. And they use like a bunch of criteria to determine like what counted as a dense pathology or like where the different hotspots were. But the important big thing is that NFTs are more strongly correlated with cognitive deficits.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Ain't that the
So,
truth?
Stay away from NFTs, any and all of them. And like, I am not a pathologist, so I won't get into the weeds about the pathology because there was a lot of very detailed information.
I'm sure.
But lots of other groups have used these brains for different research, and as we've learned more about different neuropathological conditions, they've been being used for different things outside of like Alzheimer's and dementia, other conditions. They're starting to look at using the same donated brains.
Cool.
Well, thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Still
nuns,
getting good
for your
feedback.
provides a lot of
donation.
information.
Donuncheon? No,
Yeah.
that wasn't anything.
I
I tried
was
to make it
about to
happen.
know how few nun puns we had made.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many.
I was sitting on them. I was really holding it back.
We're
And
not in the
you're
habit
welcome,
of
audience.
talking poorly about
Oh.
nuns.
Oh, wow.
Let's get it together.
Oh,
But
wow.
no, nuns are not a typically studied group. This is like kind of exceptional in that way. They don't usually agree to it. And I don't know if people are necessarily looking for nuns often to.
Yeah.
They get the
It
call.
seems like such a good homogenous study
Yeah.
population,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the fact that
Very
all
black
of,
and white,
over
if you
600 of
will.
them were willing to participate and donate their brains to
That's so
science
many.
is really incredible.
Yeah, across the U.S. too. And then last thing, looking towards the future, there is a group of individuals who are found within the study who have AD pathology, but did not have any cognitive decline, right? So people with asymptomatic Alzheimer's
What?
disease.
Whoa.
This is like kind of a newer field that people are really looking at. So we don't know a lot about it yet, but what they did find was that the people with asymptomatic Alzheimer's disease tended to have some kind of significant hippocampal hypertrophy, which could be protective. They also tended to be younger, and then they also tended to not have any kind of comorbid pathologies.
That's
So they
crazy.
were like low risk people, but they still had those sort of like NFTs and SPs found in their brain, although they had fewer NFTs than people who had Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
So
Just
it's a-
normal aging related
yeah, and
degradation.
more things that can be looked at in the future from this study.
So I saw that UTESCA and the Emory School of Medicine got a almost $5 million grant from the Department of Defense, specifically to attempt to improve PTSD treatment and recovery rates. And they were going to look at using psychedelics combined with psychotherapy. And so it was looking at using MDMA, which is also known as ecstasy,
Nice.
in conjugation with prolonged exposure therapy, PE therapy, which is kind of a first line treatment for PTSD. And I think it's been around since the kind of mid-late mid-late 90s. And it has a focus on helping the patients process trauma safely. So generally, it's like a structured treatment that you do with a therapist that involves like psychoeducation about PTSD. They do controlled breathing, and then they do like detailed recounting of that traumatic memory with the therapist to kind of help talk through it. And sometimes we'll even do audio or visual exposure, or even real world exposure to similar events to help kind of with that.
While they're on the psychedelics.
Well, that's just prolonged exposure therapy.
Okay.
The theory is that MDMA can be used to enhance the efficiency of prolonged exposure therapy. In theory, it increases neuroplasticity for about 2 weeks, and they say it'll impact the emotional memory circuits that kind of affect those fear responses. So on our side of things, the TESCA side of things, Dr. Alan Peterson is the professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences here, and he's also the director of Strong Star Consortium, which is a research group that focuses on researching kind of early screening and interventions for the psychological health of military personnel, veterans, and first responders. This is all based on a previous pilot study at Emory, which was an open label study. So all the participants knew they were taking a dose of MDMA, and they were just doing masked prolonged exposure therapy. So masked prolonged exposure therapy, rather than kind of spreading that treatment out over like months or weeks, they do almost every single day for 2 weeks that prolonged exposure therapy, and that's kind of been seen to work well. That pilot study at Emory ended up showing a significant reduction in PTSD symptoms, so they pushed on to this study that's being run now. And so it's going to be a study of 100 active duty military or reserve personnel, 75 here at UTESCA, and then 25 at Emory. They're going to test multiple dosing, and they're going to do a single dose of MDMA at the second visit. So they'll do 1 day of the exposure therapy, and then they'll take the MDMA and then do their exposure therapy, and then they'll do another daily therapy for about 2 weeks, and then do some kind of follow-ups after that.
Cool.
And does that one, you said the pilot study was open, so everyone knew they were taking a dose of MDMA.
Yes.
This one
Will
blind?
be it's a 2-armed. It is double blinded, so both
wow.
Interesting.
the participants and the study personnel won't know.
So you could be a lucky duck who takes a monster dose of MDMA, and no one knows whether or not that's what's happening. Just kidding. I'm sure that
Yes.
the doses are like well controlled.
I wonder
Yeah.
if it's a smaller dose than what someone would take recreationally or larger.
I
That is a
think
great
it's probably
question.
a smaller
I
dose
would assume.
because I think you would have issues with blinding if it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
It would
Smaller
be quite
dose.
obvious.
I'm about to say, but is it enough to get any conscious effect though, or is it just like the
Do your pupils
neuroplasticity
have
effect?
to be as large as the moon in order to get the neuroplasticity? Is that your
That's
question?
mainly
Right.
what I'm asking. Yes, like I'm sure there's like a dose between effective, like you can feel it, and neuroplasticity.
Right.
And I think that's
And
what
I'm sure they know what it
They're
is.
trying
Well,
to
actually,
figure
that's
out.
what they're trying to figure out
Oh.
because there's
That's
why
two
they're doing
arms
multiple doses.
with different
Oh.
dosing. They're trying to determine the optimal dosage. And so I would wager it's probably less than the recreational threshold.
I would hope so for the sake of the
Maybe that's the
participants.
second higher dosage, and then they
Right.
did it halfway down from that.
They'll find out.
Yeah.
They will find
Yeah,
out.
they will. When we'll report back when
Right.
they have that
We'll let
finding.
y'all know what we hear.
What we hear through the grapevine.
Fewer PTSD symptoms and then a greater appreciation for EDM.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Hey, people do music therapy, so you know.
it's true.
that
True.
could-
So
Yeah.
true.
Music therapy
I feel like
plus.
for me, EDM is the opposite of music therapy.
I
It's
agree.
music
Yeah.
torture.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's kind of
I feel that way
But
as well.
everyone can listen to what they like.
Yeah, but chase your
Yeah.
bliss. No
Don't wanna yuck
shame, no
anyone's
shame. Don't
yum.
yuck any yums. Okay, so this next study was done here, obviously, because these were all done here. This was a study done back in, or rather published in April, about a new way to deliver drugs, specifically drugs that were formerly IV-only drugs. They discovered a method of getting them absorbed into the body via endocytosis. By just kind of modifying the drug packaging itself. So the paper, it was published in Cell, it's called CD36 Mediated Endocytosis of Proteolysis Targeting Chimeras. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But basically what they did was take drugs that are usually like large, polar, unwieldy drugs, and they attached this little motive, this little thing on there that would trigger CD36 on certain cells in the body. And that cell marker triggers an endosomal pathway in the cell that triggers like endocytosis. So basically, the cell was able to take in the drug that normally would not be permeable to, which is kind of crazy because like
Awesome.
yeah, pharmacodynamics, kinetics, like the reason we have the drugs we do is because they can enter cell,
Yeah.
right? This changes the game because now drugs that couldn't enter cell can potentially enter cell using this technology.
So these are drugs that used to be IV. So the idea would now be that you could use this new technology and you could give a patient a pill instead.
Yep.
So they don't have to go to the hospital. They can take home.
Absolutely. So it's kind of game changing. I mean, this is new tech, and it was unexpected. The findings, they said they had to replicate it like several times because they couldn't believe it was actually working. Because it's kind of insane to be able to do that. And so essentially, what we can do is hopefully get this drug delivery mechanism mastered, and it kind of changes our ability to treat tumors, to treat anything past the blood-brain barrier, because this technology will allow us to get in there when previously there's been nothing that can help us do that. It's like the biggest challenge in pharmacology. So this was a pretty big deal. The director of research here at UT Health, Dr. Kromas, helped this like gain traction and get it published. So that's cool. Basically, we've seen some big changes in pharmacology because of that discovery here.
That's really
So
exciting.
congratulations to Dr. Lee, the team that was involved in making that happen.
Big ups, Dr. Lee.
Big ups.
And the mechanism doesn't change the drug in any significant way that would, I don't know what drug they tested the delivery mechanism on, but it
Yeah.
doesn't change the drug in a way that changes its efficacy at all.
Yeah,
Right.
Like changing
I'm sure you would have to, I don't know, alter the dosing because now we're talking about a different way of like absorption, etc. So
Yeah.
What sort of
I'm sure that's
processing
what
is required in order to get the drug to that?
So these chimeras that they were making, I mean, essentially, it's like, from my understanding, it's kind of complicated. A little over my head, not gonna lie. But
Be a pharmacy student.
yeah, like actually. So essentially, they were just adding a chemical probe. So like fish, like fluoro, fluoroluminescence
Okay.
staining. It's like that, but it's just a chemical probe on the drug itself.
Wow.
So it doesn't change the drug, it just allows
gives
it
it a
to, gives it a hat that gets it in the cell,
Mhm.
which is, that's a great way to put it. I like that. It's, again, I'm giving you very like above level for what they were able to do, but it sounds like this packaging, they tried a bunch of different drugs. I think they tried like 15 different drugs in vivo and in vitro to try to get this method to work, and proved efficacy over time. But my understanding is that it doesn't change the drug itself at all. So
But okay, so what kind of cells respond to the marker? Like, what kind of cells eat those? Will eat the drugs?
eat the drugs. Yeah, no, good question. So CD36 is expressed diversely in the body, especially in intestine, brain, and skin cells. So intestine's game changing because that allows GI absorption. Hence why we can put these things in pills now instead of in the blood.
And we can
directly.
also make like a topical cream.
Yeah,
because
true.
They're expressing skin cells.
Oh,
Be awesome.
Absolutely.
Little paste.
A little paste, indeed. And brain tumors before with IV chemo
Yeah.
can't get in there, but
No.
now
Now, hold on.
we can get in there, which is crazy. Don't have to.
Yeah, it sounds like this could really like change the patient experience.
Yeah.
For the better.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a part in this article as well that was remarking about how, medicine's getting a lot more individualized and like personalized, and this can literally just kind of look at a patient, decide which part of them will be best to absorb the thing, and
Yeah,
then
that's
send
so
the
cool.
drug directly there, which is super cool. I'm excited to see what happens.
I guess that would require a little more specificity. But I'm sure they've already gotten this far. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure if this tech, this is CD36, I'm sure there's other endocytic thingamajigs.
So here's an interesting article about Tai Chi and dementia. So a professor at UTESCA, Dr. Liu here at UTESCA, is essentially producing an app, an AI-powered Tai Chi app, which is going to individually tailor Tai Chi forms to help people with dementia and prevent falls. So
that's cool.
if you,
I love that.
a little, I guess, background on Tai Chi. There's some in this article. I've tried it before. It's very calming. There are 24 forms, and if you're an expert in Tai Chi, it would take you less than 10 minutes, especially per this article, to do them. But they're very slow martial arts style movements, so it requires a lot of balance to maintain that flexibility because you're moving so slowly. But the application and this AI tracking software they've created would basically personalize the movements that are optimal for your needs.
Ooh.
So if this was an older patient with dementia and you want to help them prevent falls, you would focus on those forms that are really necessary to have a lot of balance. So that would be more efficient than having to practice all 24 forms, and probably a lot easier for someone who doesn't have much mobility.
Right.
So the way Dr. Liu really created this, it looks like in this article, is by having a lab with motion tracking software to create the 3D model of someone doing Tai Chi and analyze each form.
Wow.
And they talk a little bit in the article about how, if this becomes really successful and has good results when they test it out more with patients, make it more efficient, then it could be a good addition for primary care physicians to kind of use for their patients' treatment, because it can help minimize financial burden, medication burden on a patient if it's a more simple way to help mobility, prevent falls. It's a lot cheaper than going to PT. So
Yeah.
totally.
It's like PT in your hand. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess technology's cool or whatever.
I know I don't know much about AI, but whenever I see an article like this, I'm like,
Oh.
I wish I knew more about AI.
Is this AI app, is it coaching you while you're doing Tai Chi? Is it using a camera, or is it telling you what movements are good or if it works for you or not?
Is it like Just Dance?
Does it give you a score?
So it seems like the AI platform itself is supposed to evaluate patient health information as like a predictive value if Tai Chi is going to be beneficial for their condition and which forms they specifically should be using. So it says future capabilities could include integration with EMR records and on-demand exercises through the mobile app with self-reported patient evaluations. But it seems like the more of the camera component to it was when they were researching this in Dr. Liu's lab and really doing a 3D analysis of the forms themselves. And it seems like they want to take that to a stage where once they have all that data, they can use it to predict the effectiveness for an individual patient, like case by case basis.
Gotcha.
So again with the personalized medicine.
Yeah.
I was about to say, AI seems to be like every time I hear about personalized medicine.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Technology.
I don't like that
It's
part.
taking our jobs, but it is good
Oh, come on.
sometimes.
Okay, so the article that I found also related to Alzheimer's. So honestly, I should have gone right after Isabel, but it's okay. I forgive y'all.
A lot of memory today.
So leading the first author of the study, Dr. Salardini, he also works with the Glenn Biggs Institute for Alzheimer's and Neurodegenerative Disease. And the title of this article was "Stress Can Lead to Alzheimer's Disease in Women Who Are Postmenopausal." So that's kind of like the focus of the study. So as we know, sporadic Alzheimer's, leading cause of cognitive decline in older adults, but it has this really long asymptomatic phase, kind of what you were talking, Isabel, where a lot of the biomarkers that lead to Alzheimer's start to accumulate. And one of those biomarkers is the amyloid beta protein. And so Miss Amyloid is
Miss Amy Lloyd.
Miss Amy Lloyd is basically, it's like an incorrectly folded protein that overstays its welcome. So it'll go deposit in your tissues and organs and cause problems. So given that, we see these changes well before symptoms emerge, being able to identify those early risk factors before you actually see any cognitive impairment would be like a really great way to intervene and prevent, actual cognitive impairment, cognitive decline. And so in some animal models that were conducted before, not related to this study, but, they pulled information from these studies, seeing that elevated cortisol, so our stress hormone, actually contributes to amyloid production. And that will be relevant later. So study model, longitudinal analysis using data from the Framingham Heart Study. So the same study that your article pulled from. 305 cognitively unimpaired middle-aged individuals. So they were assessed for serum cortisol levels, and then 15 years later, the amyloid burden was evaluated in their brains using a PET scan. And so part of this too, in light of the neuroprotective effects of sex hormones, the researchers also wanted to analyze sex-specific differences because sex hormones have been seen to kind of mitigate the impact that cortisol has on the brain. So they hypothesized that Alzheimer's pathology would be more pronounced in women post-menopause because of the decline in progesterone and estrogen. And they were right, or at least that's what they saw in the study. There was an association, statistically significant association between elevated serum cortisol and increased amyloid deposition 15 years later. And hey, we're in our neuroblock, so let's get technical. They found that the amyloid beta protein was deposited specifically more frequently in the posterior cingulate, the precuneus, and the frontal lateral retrosplenial cortices.
You
what
bodied
almost
that
all of those
I
pronunciation.
could piece out the last one if you gave me like a good 30.
I had to look it up.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I know those words, but how they go together, I'm not sure. But
they're in there somewhere.
This association was specific to postmenopausal women. And so researchers posit that cortisol, the stress hormone, has some effect on clearance of amyloid beta, the protein. Like I said earlier, postmenopause, women see a drop in progesterone and estrogen, and this can cause a susceptibility to dysregulation of cortisol, which is how we see that accumulation of those amyloid proteins. And so researchers suggested that stress reduction and hormonal intervention can aid in Alzheimer's prevention in postmenopausal women. That was kind of their conclusion. It's just crazy. Like, I feel like stress is such like everybody has it, everybody deals with it, and so learning about the ways in which it like actually impacts your health is like, ooh,
Yeah.
ouch.
Every time I hear cortisol pop up yet again
Yeah.
in the
Like, that's
latest
my
health
good
thing, I'm
friend.
like, great,
Yeah.
cool. I'm
Right.
boned. I'm ruined.
I think
Yeah.
an interesting question here too would be like, is it more of an effect for women postmenopausal or for like male subjects who've never had the hormone at all? Like, what's
Well, they have it. It's in there. It's just
no, I
lower.
mean, like, well, yeah, like high levels of estrogen.
Yeah.
Is it the decrease?
Is
That's
it
what I
the
was
decrease? That's what I'm
wondering.
saying.
Yeah.
Is it the decrease or the low level?
Yeah.
that is-
Right. That would be a good
That'd be
thing
very
to investigate.
Yeah, they said they needed to do some more research, some longitudinal, because
Yeah.
like they said, all of these people were cognitively unimpaired, so they didn't actually see any symptoms arise. They just watched the like biomarkers. So I think they're wanting to go back and see if any actual cognitive impairment occurred.
Yeah, because
Cool.
the amyloid beta route of understanding Alzheimer's is just one of, I think, several out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories. It's like the leading, or like I think not even leading so much as first. It's so hotly debated. I feel like when people
Yeah.
bring it up, they go, but don't ever say that it is the reason
Right.
that
Yeah.
Alzheimer's happens.
Or
'Cause
that's
it's
just accumulation
Yeah.
or buildup of something. Because
Yeah.
the mechanism is still kind of unknown.
right.
But the correlation is interesting.
I know it is.
Certainly.
Makes me think about like hormone replacement in postmenopausal
Exactly.
women, especially
Exactly.
because that's becoming more and more common. Is that
Yeah.
women are being able to seek treatment for postmenopausal symptoms
Mhm.
and take hormone replacement.
Mhm.
So does that slow down?
Right? Could that help? What
Is
What?
there a mental benefit to doing that? Maybe
Who's to say?
someone
Only
will.
time will tell.
So
Someone
what
will
we need to
eventually
do
study
Let's
that.
find some nuns.
Is
Find
find
some
some
nuns.
nuns.
They're
with
all
an
over 75.
estrogen.
Yes.
Tell them not to sleep too much.
Stress them out.
Stress them out, but
Give
then
them some
but
MDMA
let
for
them
the
chill.
trauma.
Yeah. And they
And
can always
then
do some
And do some
MDMA, Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Perfect. We have the formula.
Okay. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
pretty
this
much
is
gotten
the
it
formula to
all.
perfect health.
Exactly. Well, brain health. All
Brain
we have
health.
to do with the
That's true.
Yeah, that's
Stress
true.
is all.
Most of these-
and give them drugs.
Yeah, and then
via
we can all the drugs. You can just take them
endocytosis.
as pills now because
Yes.
Yeah.
that they can get there because of the endocytosis.
Yeah.
Bing bang
Anybody
boom.
want to share their favorite article they heard about today? What do we?
Ooh,
I loved the drug one. I thought that was
That's so cool.
The drug
It's really
The
exciting.
drug is the most
Really lit.
impressive.
yeah.
really
I
exciting.
got really excited reading that article. I won't lie.
I'm excited that it works.
Yeah, so it's funny because like in the article, even early, it was an interview of Dr. Lee after that article was published, and he was like, "Yeah, that was crazy. we did not know that was gonna happen." It was like, "That's so funny. I
It's
can't
a
wait."
nice scientific discovery.
That's the way it always happens.
Yeah, it's like they're just on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank y'all for listening to this special June research edition of the SABR podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
If you let us know that you like it, there could be more of these just article rundowns
Yeah.
to come.
fun.
We were thinking
Yeah.
like a quarterly review could be
quarterly
fun if
review.
y'all
Little chit-chat.
like that. A little chit chat, yip yap, sesh. Tune in next week. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, email us, saber.podcast.outreach@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram @saberpodcast. We should post more on there.
That's
hey
on
guys,
me. We'll
hey
be doing
team.
that.
It's okay. It's going to happen. No worries. And until next time, we're all of your hosts.
Lily.
Ren.
Donnie's.
Read.
Right.
Isabel.
Tune in next week for when that happens for
Right.
sure. See you then.
See you then.
Bye.
Do I need to beat Evan? Sorry.
Keep that in.